But that's the wait, what? What's going on here?
Talking about ghosts, right?
Oh my God, Aaron!
I am here.
Ain't nobody used to give a damn. Yeah, I had to go and make a different plan. Yeah, guess who didn't get included? Even though you made me better, yo, I strictly do it for the fam.
No, not ghosts. It wasn't ghosts. Supernatural stuff.
Yeah, you are right, Aaron, and welcome back to the podcast, everybody.
Yeah, I didn't go anywhere. I just had to go potty.
Yeah. But you guys in for a treat now, cause although we would love to have Sally here, she's a little busy. But we'll have the whole trio back. I think we're becoming a trio now.
Sounds like it. Seems like it.
Seems like it, yeah. Where today, for the continuation of the supernatural chat, we're talking about zombies.
Zombies.
But where did zombies begin in supernatural history? Well, ironically, they kind of started around the same time as vampires.
Did they really?
Yeah, ghouls were technically zombies that were the servants of vampires.
You're right. Now, but a zombie, the way we think of a zombie today, isn't ruled by anybody other than
brains.
Well, brains or flesh or, you know, if you look at The Walking Dead, they just eat people. There's cannibalism, really. But
Zombie Warren need flesh, but I'm dead. Zombie Warren conflicted.
So, what is your stance on the whole plausibility?
Honestly, anything can happen. I've seen footage of real-life mer-people. I've seen evidence of people seeing angels. I've seen aliens. So, zombies could happen.
I agree 100%. Especially, you know, with the fact of there is, what the hell is it called? It's a insect. No, it's a fungus. I'm sorry, that attacks insects. Much like the fungus from The Last of Us.
Right.
This I forget what it's called. I'll have to look it up. Maybe we can look it up and post it later.
Yeah,
there's
we
a
can do all
that. That attaches itself to an insect's head and eats its brain. And while that insect is dead, that fungus controls the rest of its body. Basically making it a zombie.
So yeah, anything can happen in this crazy world, but what made them go from the servants of vampires to where they are now? Aaron, your thoughts on that?
Well, it all started in superstition, right? And I think the development of moving pictures or movies
before they became the talkies, yes.
Even during the silent film era, I think that zombies were still considered more like ghouls. I haven't seen very many silent films, and I don't know how many silent films involve zombies, but
I think around maybe 50 or so.
But if I remember this from the highlights that I have seen of some of these silent films, they were still portrayed more like ghouls. So for those centuries or whatever of superstition about ghouls and vampires and whatnot, they basically stayed unchanged until the birth of moving pictures or motion pictures. Excuse me.
You're excused.
So I think since then, though, the big change, I think, came with Night of the Living Dead in the 1950s.
So it's the 50s fault.
I think that was the first change, when horror and sound in motion pictures and special effects had advanced, you know, to the point where they could portray a more gruesome scenery, something more, you know, the 50s was still pretty light and fluffy as compared to today, but
oh yeah, definitely.
Still bad, but still, you know, fluffy. I think they moved on. I don't remember who made the film.
We'll look it up and put it in post.
But if I remember right, I thought that it took place in Milwaukee.
God damn it, Milwaukee!
or the guys that made the film were from Milwaukee. I can't remember. But I've noticed this is like a trend, too, with zombie flicks up until like the early 2000s. Usually the outbreaks happen in Milwaukee or somewhere in Wisconsin. I've noticed that.
So the outbreak begins in Wisconsin?
Yep. Apparently we're the zombie people up here, I guess. And I could be wrong about that, but from the ones that I've seen, the outbreaks usually happen. Like, I think even in, oh God, what is that? What is that game? No, I could be wrong there. What's the one where they all end up in a mall? The movie where they all end up in a mall? I think Ving Rhames is in it.
Was it, Zombie? No, it wasn't Zombieland.
Not Zombieland. This is a long time ago. They end up on a boat going to an island at the end of the film.
I know what you're talking about, but it's escaping me.
Like the premise of the movie was basically, come on, Dead Rising. They're stuck in a mall.
Yeah, I know the premise kind of inspired Dead Rising, but I forget the movie.
Yeah, I can't remember the name of the movie. But anyways, in that movie, the outbreak happened. It was either Green Bay or Milwaukee. It says right in the beginning of the film where, like, Patient Zero was or whatever. Anyways, sidetracked.
It wouldn't be us if we didn't sidetrack. You know this.
So, yeah, okay, so the big change came in the 50s with Night of the Living Dead. Whoever made the film or whatever, I think they wanted to give Zombie a little bit more personality, kind of separate them. Maybe they were thinking they were more, and I don't know the thought process behind it, so please forgive me for being wrong if I am. But you're sitting around one night drinking a few beers, you're a filmmaker, you know about ghouls and all this. Well, what would happen if someone could bite someone and contract a disease that made them lose their mind? And how fast would it spread? And what would we do? You know? I mean, it didn't take much to make a movie back then. I'm sure, you know.
Yeah, you could just go out with whatever change you had in your sock and be like, we'll make this a motion picture, sir.
But it took off. And from there, in Night of the Living Dead, the zombies are pretty tame. I mean, if you've ever seen the movie, it's not like I didn't feel fear when I watched the movie. It was more of a rush, you know. Ooh, I hope these people live. You know, it wasn't graphic. It wasn't like too violent or anything. It was kind of like, well, as violent as Frankenstein, the original motion picture, you know.
Yeah.
And then you go from that to George A. Romero, rest in peace, Dawn of the Dead, and all hell breaks loose. Now it's become a, you know, he started the zombie revolution when it comes to what the modern day zombie is today and what it means to people and what it would mean should something like that happen. You know,
we
like
lost a lot of horror icons there.
I know. That one was recent too. That one was just within the last week.
Yeah.
But as you said in the beginning, you know, zombies started out as ghouls, superstition. They were mind controlled by a vampire. They weren't really zombies. They were just being controlled by the vampire, which kind of lends it. So how did that work back then? A vampire bites him, but he doesn't take enough blood to turn him. Is that what it was?
From what I can remember from the original text and from this manga/anime that I kind of looked into for one of my friends of Rosario plus Vampire.
Oh, Jenny likes that show.
The thing about how a ghoul was made was that they tried to drain as much blood from the individual without giving too much of the venom. That way, as soon as they were either near death or dead already, they would just become their subservient servant for themselves, become just their ghoul to do whatever as they please.
All right, but it did originate with a bite, right?
Yes.
Okay, so that part, so the biting, spreading the disease, I think, is an easy link to make there. You know, vampires dying out, really, in superstition. I mean, you go back 300, 400, 500 years, vampires weren't just superstition. They were, you know, those are the stories you tell your kids to get them to go to sleep at night because you don't want them awake to go outside to be caught by Dracula, you know.
Very true.
it was more than just a superstition back then. And then as time goes on and technology advances, we find, you know, oh, vampires aren't real. Maybe vampires are real. Who knows? I don't know. It could be like Blade, and they have this whole underworld going on, vampire nightclubs that I will probably wander into one night and get drained and become a ghoul.
We'll never know.
Well, maybe. If I disappear, I'm a vampire.
Okay. But from the transition from there to here, I don't know about these modern zombies, Aaron. I don't know.
I think that's... I'm sorry, go ahead. You go ahead. I've been talking.
It's okay. Like, I enjoy iZombie as a modern zombie show, because, yeah, Liv Moore is a very sexually attractive zombie. She's a zilf, I'll admit that. A zombie I'd like to fuck. But, I don't know, the modern day interpretation of zombies don't really give me that whole sinister vibe the way ghouls did when I used to read the old text, when I was just going through old books, just like, oh man, an army of ghouls led by a powerful vampire that could enslave all humanity. That triggers a whole thing in my mind, just like, this is something that could really turn me into a really good gothic fan.
Yeah.
Fast forward to today, where it's just like, we gotta kill all these zombies there, Coral.
Well, okay, so to lend a little bit of support to the modern day zombie, not just giving it all to George A. Romero, because though he is the grandfather of modern zombies, he is not the only one. There is, oh god, what is the other movie? Which explores zombie culture, but it's not actual zombie culture. It's what is it called? Butterfly in the Rainbow? Is that what it is?
It might be.
With Bill Paxton? Not Bill Paxton. Bill.
One of them Bills.
The president from Independence Day.
I think that was Bill Paxton.
Is it? I can't remember, because the other one died.
We'll look it up. We'll look it up after we're done.
Correct it.
Because we'll be sitting here all day. It's like, who the fuck was that?
It's The Serpent in the Rainbow, and it's a novel by... Isn't that a novel by Stephen King?
It sounds like something Stephen King would do, but again, we'll look it up in post, because I don't know where my mind's gonna go with that.
Anyways, so the movie is basically about a guy who goes to is it Haiti to learn about voodoo and voodooism, and inadvertently falls under the spell of one of these voodoo doctors and thinks he's a zombie. And then so that movie actually takes some truth from the voodoo religion over there, in being that, and you can find archival footage and things like this all over about real life zombies in Haiti and voodoo zombies and this and that.
Oh yeah, witch doctors love making zombies.
And I think that the modern day zombie more specifically came from that version of what a zombie human could be, because if you watch The Serpent in the Rainbow, he kind of loses his mind and goes crazy, and all sorts of weird stuff happens, and if you read some of the stories about these people who've been voodooed, they do some pretty creepy shit. You know, they're not being mind controlled. They just lose all control. They don't have any sense of humanity at that point until they snap out of whatever drugs they've been given to put them in that state. You know, so I think between George A. Romero and then the real life stories that come out of these areas it's not just Haiti. I picked that one because it was the most obvious one for voodoo religion.
Haiti, the Bayou of Louisiana.
Yep. I think you put those two together, Romero's vision and what people actually were hearing in real life, you know, things that are happening to real people, that's your modern day zombie right there. And then it evolved from that even further to now they're just mindless cannibals. You know, if you look at The Walking Dead, they're not like eating people's brains, they're eating every inch of the person. You know, they're ripping them to shreds. And I, however, like you, I like iZombie as well. That sounds more like what a zombie would be. Someone who is changed physiologically and needs some other source to survive than just what we eat as food as humans. They still have their brains intact, they still have their minds intact, but if they go too long without eating, they go feral. You know, and then they turn into that stereotypical zombie.
As they call Romero zombies in the show.
Yeah, Romero zombies. Good homage.
But I still don't know, Aaron. Like, from the last topic me and Sally were talking about with angels, I mean, I get that with how the times change, you need to make sure that your mythological or supernatural thing needs to be changed up with it. But at the same time, it shouldn't diminish their core value of how they became what they were in supernatural lore. I mean, zombies served a... You okay, Aaron?
I know. I heard the siren.
Did you see her?
Mm-hmm. Me and V are in the middle of something. She didn't even say hi, V.
Bye.
Now she said.
I felt ignored for a second there. Anyway,
Sorry, V.
it's fine. But I just kind of feel like for zombies in particular, the reason I kind of hate the modern day zombie trope more and more is because it's given less respect in most of the genre stuff. It's more like, we could just have an entire thing of a brand new cannibal-like thing, substance-like creature that could feast on humanity, or we could just drag the name zombie into.
Right, and you know what? I gotta say, that's why I liked Will Smith's movie.
I Am Legend.
I Am Legend, because it gave a reason as to why these people became the way they were, and then he figures out like halfway through the movie that I mean, he knows in his head that they're still real people, but he's trying to figure out, you know, how they've evolved and how he can reverse it, and then he figures out that, yeah, they're still people, but they've already become like tribes. You know, they have mates and they have families, and we're the ones that have encroached upon their territory now that they've taken it, you know, from us, basically. and I like how it's put as a disease, not so much like they're not zombies, so to speak. They're not like taking you and eating you. They beat you to death, you know, and kick you out of their place.
Basically.
But and another one that I actually, not necessarily the movie, but the way that they came about doing it is World War Z. Now, I only saw the movie. I didn't read the books or any of the graphic novels, are they?
I've heard the books and the graphic novels are pretty good.
But I like that whole take on that it's nature. It's nature's way of setting the planet right. We're overpopulating. We're encroaching on things we shouldn't encroach upon. Kind of like M. Night Shyamalan's movie, The Happening, or whatever the hell it was. Nature. The grass is what started killing people. But, you know, that take on it, that there's somewhere in the world it has become unbalanced, and Mother Nature, you know, I'm not going to say it because I'll offend somebody. It's like Mother Nature, it seems like Mother Nature tends to be the god, you know, or Gaia, she is over, you know, you're not going to beat her. You're not going to destroy her. She's going to balance herself out, whether you like it or not. So, I do like those different takes on zombies. Now, I have a question for you.
Yes.
If zombies were a real thing, and I'm not saying that they're not, because maybe they are, who knows, just like vampires.
We'll never know.
How do you think, or what do you think that they would exist like? What would they be like? Like, in reality, what do you think they would be like?
What would they be like?
What is your idea of a modern zombie outbreak?
I feel like a modern zombie outbreak would kind of just be regular individuals that just happen to feast on brains but have semi-control. But it would take like a couple of years for them to just actually get permanent control over what their cravings are. Kind of like how many people believe that for mutants in the whole thing of X-Men have to take years of training to get their whole powers under wraps. That's where I feel like the modern zombie would be. They'd just be like, hi, I can't get sorry.
So do you think it'd be kind of like a more close relationship to a evolutionary step for humans, or do you think it would be some sort of disease or bacterial infection or fungus, or like what perpetuates it? What what causes it. Like in iZombie, it's a freaking drug called
Utopium.
Topium, and Supermax, Max Rager. Max Rager.
That is a heavy question, Aaron, and on the one hand, I believe it would be biological. On the other hand, I believe it would be evolutionary. But I do believe in one small thing that could be the whole process about how zombies are. And that is